Welcome to One Thought at a Time, where we get curious about what makes us tick. I'm Ian Travers, and I'm joined today with my co-host, Ant Sahota.
Hello.
Our guest today is a man who's leading the charge against depression by mixing motorsport and charity. Welcome, Phil Waters.
G'day.
Thanks ever so much for taking the time to come along today.
Not at all, my pleasure.
So, Phillip, let's kick things off. How do you spend your time?
Spend my time, well, I like the garden. So I spend a lot of time in the garden. And when I'm not gardening, I'm running a series called the CALM All Porsche Trophy. That's what you want me to say, isn't it?
That's exactly what I wanted you to say, yeah.
And it's basically, mixing my two passions, really, which is one about CALM itself, the charity, Campaign Against Living Miserably, and motor racing. I've been interested in motorsport since I was 11, and this seemed a really good idea.
So tell us a bit more about the series, because I know when we've spoken off camera, there's a particular ethos around the whole championship, isn't it? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it's all about the CALM philosophy, really, of spreading awareness amongst men, and young men in particular, because suicide is such a huge issue for young men. And it all started when my son, in fact, committed suicide in 2012. And that seemed to be the time that we get together, get the two sides of my life, if you like, together and form this series.
So, how does CALM and the race series, as you know, rather than just a sticker on a car, what's the ethos? How does it work in that space?
Oh, in reality, what we do is we raise money for CALM as part of the series. Part of the profits at the end of the year goes to CALM, but we also create an atmosphere where all the guys in the paddock can talk to one another, and certainly talk to me about any issues they have. We make it all really accessible and okay to talk. And it's really taken off. It's really taken off very well. As part of my due diligence, if you like, before we started this, I spoke to as many guys as I could in the paddock, and 90-odd% of them had a story to tell about a family member or themselves. In fact, you know, one chap said, "Well, that was me last year."
Wow.
Another chap said it was my brother a couple of weeks ago, and that kind of thing. So. And since then, since the beginning, it's really exploded, and you know, we're now in a situation where we've got over 65 people, racers, racing with us from throughout the year. We're racing 6 times a year, and we're going to Spa very shortly.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, and we're having a lot of fun. But at the same time, you know, it's all about this camaraderie and about this chat amongst men, which hasn't been there before.
And actually, that's one thing that I must say, like, because obviously I've raced under the CALM Trophy before, and that's how we know each other, Phillip.
Quite so.
But one of the things I can definitely vouch for is the fact that it brings those like-minded people together. Like, in fact, it feels like a family reunion every single race meet.
Yeah.
And every single time that I've been there, I've had conversations that make me think when I drive away, you know, after I've raced or once I'm on the journey home. It just makes me think twice about what's happened, and it just makes me reflect and consolidate my thoughts, really. It's very, very empowering.
What do you think the ingredient is that makes it an environment or space where people feel they can talk?
Oh, I suppose because of the camaraderie, as Ant said, and in fact we get people, you know, on a typical race day, we're just one race in a whole series of there's probably usually about 6 or 7 other races going at the same time, and we don't know each other necessarily, you know, but I've had people come up and speak to me saying that, you know, I just don't feel like I want to go out today.
Yeah.
You know, from other championships. And, you know, that would never have happened before we started this.
And funny enough, I've had that even as a driver. Like, I've shared a car with someone, and that person said to me, I don't feel 100% up for doing the drive today. You know, could you do it for me? Like, could you do the full drive? And it's just that it's funny how the series just has the ability you've created this sort of environment to allow people just to openly talk to each other. Like when in a normal circumstance in a race series, in this macho world of motorsport, could a driver say, I don't actually fancy going out today in the wet, or I don't fancy going and doing my stint, I just don't think I'll be able to do it. It's a very, very positive thing to hear that. So yeah, hats off to you, Phillip, for creating that kind of environment for our drivers, really.
Well, it's not just me, you know. Somebody starts, don't they? So we said earlier, you know, I'm the one with the mouth. Everybody else does the work, and in fact, the work is done by the drivers in talking amongst themselves. We got 10 father and son teams, you know, where because our races, it's a 40-minute race, and there's a pit stop where you can swap drivers, and we got 10 father and son teams. And that is really, really cool. You know, I really like that.
Well, I mean, Sam, who's been on the podcast earlier, I mean, it was great to see him and his dad, you know, on the grid together. That was amazing.
Yeah, they couldn't quite share the same car because the gap that you get out of Sam's car between the roll bar and the roof isn't quite big enough for his dad to fit. So he's had to build his own car with a bigger gap.
Brilliant. It's interesting. This whole space, we were again talking before today. How do you get people who aren't involved in that series? You know, people need to talk more, but they don't. Why do you think? And I'm going to talk, you know, men in particular. Why don't we talk?
I think it's just not macho, was it? You know, just to be ill is one thing. To be mentally ill is quite another. Especially for a man, you know, a man's supposed to be the big I am. He's supposed to be the hunter-gatherer. He's supposed to be the one who is the rock in a relationship or a family. And you can't be that person if you're, this is the perception, that you can't be that person if you got problems, you know, that you can't see, and that you've got all these things going on inside you that you can't vocalize.
Yeah.
You know, in the past, of course, it was just you often just got really ill, and you know, maybe did some harm to yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Or even just, you know, caused an illness yourself anyway.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you know, we are a product of an environment and a society that programs us to think that, aren't we? You know, or you are the hunter-gatherer, and it can be an awful pressure if you're trying to fulfill that role, and then who do you talk to? You know, if you don't have a mum or a dad left to talk to as well.
Yeah, quite so.
Yeah.
Well, there's all sorts of places you can go now, which are already available. You know, I think the mental health side of the society is still not adequately supported by the NHS. But there are lots of places you can go to talk about less serious things before, which is obviously the best way to deal with them is to nip them in the bud. And so there's lots of places you can go to have some sort of coaching, some sort of one-to-one, some sort of group things. And it's becoming more and more acceptable amongst men to go and attend these things and to say, hang on, you know.
And actually at a motorsport event, funny enough, like, you know, it's motorsport events, you get people that take motorsport very seriously. That'd be that, like, you know, young drivers to people, you know, later on down in life who just want to release at the weekend, you know, to get away from work stress or get away from life stress. So to have that sort of platform at a place where these people are doing what they're doing to release a bit of stress over the weekend, and for, you know, and to have that platform to allow them to speak is a very important one to have, I think, you know, rather than just, it's just a place just to release a bit of energy, a bit of stress, but it's good to have that support system in place there.
But it's crazy, isn't it? You know, we're talking about mental health and we're to achieve sort of normal things, you know, not to just to live your life normally. But, you know, sports psychologists do this all the time, and they've been doing it for yonks and years and years and years. So it's quite acceptable for an elite sportsman, for instance, to have a mind coach or to have somebody with him who tours the world to help him, you know, achieve what he wants to achieve.
Yeah, exactly.
And they make a huge difference, and you can see it. We saw it at Wimbledon, you know.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It was just so prevalent now, and we can all access that quite readily.
Yeah,
it's interesting. There's a term I've heard used quite a lot now, and I like it, and it's mental fitness.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about mental illness, people immediately think, oh, that's something you do when it's broken.
Yeah.
Whereas I think this term mental fitness, what can you do when you're feeling good to maintain that resilience? So I quite like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
I think I'm feeling inspired.
So just changing direction slightly, motorsport is expensive. How do you balance out that versus the charity side? So it's an event which consumes money from sponsors or whatever, and there's the charitable side. How does that tension play out?
Well, we attract sponsorship. Thank you very much. Throughout the year, and we use some of that money to run the series, and at the end of the year, we donate that to CALM.
Right.
And in addition to that, throughout the year, we have various things going on, fundraising events. And in fact, one of our biggest contributor actually is a company that, am I allowed to say it?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
It's
yes.
called Scrap Car Comparison. And they work on a national basis. And if you've got an old banger you need to get rid of, you put it onto their website, and they get whoever's interested to bid on that car, and then they come along, pick it up, and take it away. And they ask those people, the owners, if they accept 5 or less, and because they run a charity, a different charity every month,
Right.
and we get. Every year we get at least £6,000, and some years we get £8,000.
That's fantastic,
just through 1 month of fundraising in that way.
That's great.
I think that's really good.
That is really
and
good,
hats off, hats off to the people that do that.
Yeah.
So we do things like that. We do other things. We give money to various towards various sort of scenarios where we raise money through selling bits and pieces. We do the trophy things.
Yeah, the trophy thing is fantastic.
It's
I
all,
love that.
We sort of, but I'm not the best. I'm not the best at fundraising. I'm really not.
No,
we
but
could do better.
One thing I've noticed is you're very good at getting the right people together under the same roof, and that's something
That's
that I
good
think
to
you
hear.
need to have for, because that's
good to hear.
Yeah, it's always a good.
Don't tell them though.
No, shh.
So just another question on the series before we then delve into how you arrived here. Another topical thing, I guess, but motorsport again. There's a responsibility here about carbon and carbon footprint. How does the series consider its carbon footprint?
Yeah, well, very seriously. 3 years ago, we had this very thought. There's no real excuse for what we're doing. Drive around in circles very quickly. It's just there's no excuse. But it is part of us as people. The adrenaline, the excitement, the camaraderie, the competition, all of these things, go to make us what we are and to help us fulfill our lives. But it has come at a cost to the climate. And so we decided 3 years ago to offset our carbon footprint by investing money through brokers into schemes that are developing renewable fuels.
Right.
And that's how we sort of justify what we're doing. So every year, we cover all the cars, all the drivers, all the teams, all the trucks coming to the circuits, the extra hotels, extra accommodation, etc. The officials, the crowd, massive crowds.
Yeah, huge 50,000
huge
audience
crowd that come to watch us. We put all that in the pot, and the brokers work out what our footprint would be, and we pay the money accordingly.
Right.
And that's part of the sponsorship money that we do. So we've done that for the past 3 years, and we also got the 750 Motor Club involved. So
Right.
all of the 750 Motor Club championships, and there's 24 this year, are covered by the same broker, same deal.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, as us. And so each year they're doing it. They're taking more and more on it. They started off just doing the petrol,
Right.
You know, then they're doing petrol tyres and so on.
Oh, so they're not adding things to
Yeah.
the program. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very, very good.
They've got a very similar mindset to us, and we've approached other people as well, other series, and they're all doing slightly different things. None of them want to do it all.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
It's not really expensive, but it's just the will, I think, and they also got partners that are obviously affected by it, so they've got to be careful what they do. But no, we've covered the whole lot. We were the first in Europe to do that.
Wow.
The very first. This year we also, with that in mind, all our race fuel, our race lubricants are from a company called ROWE from Germany, who have a 99% eco-friendly factory, massive factory.
Wow.
And the whole thing is designed around that, and that's why they've approached us and wants us to, as you know, wants us to become involved and etc. And
That's really good.
fuels, yeah.
So the next question, I mean, it sounds brilliant, absolutely great, and what a great initiative. How on earth did you end up doing that then? How did you get to doing what you do now?
That's hard, really. It's just evolved. I mean, I started racing with the Porsches when it was run by the PDA back in 2010 or something, and then it was usual politics. I'm not a politician, and there's usual politics, and in the end the thing went bust, and we started this up, and so we took that over as well, and it sort of evolved now into where we are now. But it all started really when my son died, and that's what drove me really.
Right.
That drove me to where we are now.
Yes.
That must have been a very difficult time.
Yeah. It's there's a couple of positive things that come out of it. At the time, the most positive thing that we could think of when he did die and he committed suicide was that at least he knows what's next. All these religions in the world saying, "I know it's me, it's Jesus Christ, it's." He knows, he found that out.
Yeah.
And that's really strong, isn't it?
That is strong.
Wouldn't
It's
we all like
powerful,
to do that now? But he's done that. And the other thing we've done is my wife and I, is we've really focused on enjoying every day. And I think that's been really helpful, and trying to enjoy everything we do, even washing up. I'm even trying to enjoy this. That's how strong it is.
It's that difficult, is it?
Yeah.
So, no, thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, it's very, very powerful. I'm going to go off script for a minute, and I'm just going to say, we had a conversation off camera about the whole EV side and the whole sort of development and the movement that's happening with the whole development of EV cars. Would you mind sharing your perspective on what you think is the right way to go with this whole EV movement?
I think electric vehicles are a thing that is happening now. It's being driven by the wrong people. It doesn't do what it said it's going to do. It is finite. It's got a shelf life, and it really seems dumb to me that we throw away all our expertise in in internal combustion engines and the technology, the business, the people, etc. Throw that all out the window and say, no, we're gonna come up with this great idea. We're gonna have this battery which is heavy and has got a terrible carbon footprint itself.
And flammable.
And as we saw at the World Rallycross Championship at Lidl at the weekend, and raping countries of its natural resources, just like people are saying fueled petrol does, which it does. I'm not arguing it doesn't. And using an electric motor, which has been around for 100 years, I mean, it doesn't seem logical to do that. And we were speaking before, and you said that it was, when anybody pushes anything like an EV, especially if it's the government, then you think, whoa, there must be another script here,
Yeah.
which I haven't got, you know,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
it makes you,
Yeah.
you know, so to me, it's all about renewable fuels.
Yeah.
That's,
Right.
that's where it's at,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Formula One have got it. And Seb Vettel at Goodwood at the weekend at the Festival of
Yeah,
Speed.
of course,
Yeah.
did the whole run in his, didn't he?
Yeah, in
fantastic.
Nigel Mansell's Red 5, you
Yeah.
know, doing the donuts, all on renewable fuels.
Pumping out nice,
Yeah.
nice green leaves.
and he's saying that all the petrol companies have got renewable fuel right now.
Right.
They've got it now.
Is that what he's? Is that?
That's what he said.
was said. Yeah.
He said why, and he said why is Formula One waiting to introduce it? Why are they doing it?
Yeah.
You know, you got to ask those questions, and
Yeah.
you know,
And I
but
suppose-
that's the future, I think.
Yeah.
And I suppose the reality is in this space, there's an awful lot going on. I had some very interesting conversations at Goodwood also with people in this space. There's an awful lot going on that we just don't know about
Yeah.
because it's not being
Yeah.
shared or pushed. The answer is at the minute, just go get an EV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And-
good to challenge those perspectives, though, isn't it? And to
Critical
see,
thinking. Why don't we teach that?
Yeah, exactly. It's just so important to challenge that normal domain of thinking. And
Yeah.
like, you know, we have all that infrastructure in place with cars, like you said, the engineers.
Yeah.
Like we thought, how many years of car development? Surely there is a way of implementing plant-based fuels even in our current cars and keeping old cars on the road. Like,
You know-
that's what us motorheads want to see. That.
Well, excuse the pun, but I mean,
Yeah.
it is like reinventing the wheel. Don't you think?
Yeah.
It's a bit like that.
in a
Why
sense,
do that?
yeah.
It
Yeah.
seems crazy.
Yeah.
Couple of questions just on the journey that got you here. Who were the biggest influences you think on your journey from the young Phillip to the person that you are
Oh,
now?
that's a good one. Well, firstly, it was the Beatles, and I guess but my real hero is Ayrton Senna
Right.
in motor racing world, and Muhammad Ali. So there's nothing too controversial. or
Why
unusual.
those two?
But Senna and Senna was a genius, and I felt what he's felt just a few times where you feel completely at one with the car, and you feel like you're somewhere else. You know, he said at Monaco that he felt he could almost feel himself above the cockpit.
Wow.
And I felt that. I felt not that, but I felt that I was completely at one, and it was just so
Immersed.
special. Yeah, so immersed. And Muhammad Ali, I think, was he was a real human being. You know, he was a proper human being.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. And I feared for him every time I saw him fight, because I thought, for heaven's sake, don't just stay there and let him hit you, because he's
always dancing around. Yeah.
Always fantastic,
Yeah.
But there's been lots of people try to emulate him, but nobody quite has.
And actually, I actually put a quote of there was an interview with him, and it was a thing going around social media that I had to post back up because it was so empowering. But yeah, I do see that whole perspective and the way that he spoke about in interviews when he spoke, it was very much like he was giving love. He was showing the world that love exists, and it's so important to think about other people and to give a pinch of happiness and a pinch of
I saw that.
and
Yeah.
a pinch of this and a bit of positivity, and you mix it all together and you give it back to the world. And I think that, in a nutshell, you take away everything. Take away work. You take away what you're passionate about. You take away, who you are as a person and why you do it, your purpose, whatever, and you just go and resort back to that, and the world would be a better place. So
Well,
that in itself is an inspiration, isn't
Yeah,
it? So,
I mean, there are givers in this world and there are takers,
yeah,
and there should be more givers,
yeah, I agree.
definitely.
Talking of givers, how can anyone who's listening to this podcast support or contribute to CALM?
Oh, well, go to their website.
Okay, which is?
It's calmzone.net. That's it, Calm Zone. Or come to ours, which is allporschetrophy.co.uk. And we've got a Just Giving page where we put all our little bits and pieces, and it's up to
Fantastic.
15 grand, I think now, where we just, we sell some hats, we sell some T-shirts. You can buy these T-shirts.
Yeah, well, we'll put a nice link for, the whole donation stuff, and all the
that's
links,
great.
the certified links. We'll put them all in the description on YouTube. So,
and Just Giving,
anyone listening, they can just click on it nice and easy.
And Just Giving don't charge us any fees at all.
Oh, fantastic!
So it just goes straight to CALM.
Yeah, for everyone watching, we'll put the links in the description.
Where?
So, a couple of questions to conclude with. Can't quite believe we've been chatting for the length of time already, but if you've listened to a previous episode, you'll know that there's a couple of questions which we'll ask at the end. So I'm going to go for the first one. Phil, imagine that we have conquered time travel, and you have the ability to write the younger Phil a letter, knowing what you know now. What would you write to yourself?
Listen to my mum, because she knows everything.
Well,
like it.
And has that played out?
Oh yeah, I mean, she knew that I smoked.
Yeah.
She knew I went out with girls. She knew she knew that I used to pinch my dad's cigars out of the corner of his cupboard, and have a swig of his whiskey, And you think, they never know this, but she does. Your mum knows everything.
She knows everything.
She does.
I can agree with that as well, to be honest.
So the last one, it's a question which has been left by a previous guest, which we've done in the second series. And the question, it's kind of open to interpretation. So, and it's this: Phil, if not now, when?
Oh. If not now, when?
Yeah.
Crikey. Who was that?
And that could relate to anything. So is there anything which you may be thinking, when? Wow. If not now, when?
Oh, when are people are going to stop being silly, and start thinking, hang on a minute, this can't go on like this. We've got to do something about the climate. We've got to do something about the way we live. We've got to do something about, EastEnders. Because that isn't the way to live.
No.
That isn't. And we all know it. I hope we all know it. And why don't we do it now?
That's great. Phil, so our last question, you get the opportunity to leave an equally challenging question
How
for
exciting.
a future guest.
Okay.
What would you like to leave?
Is it a question or advice?
It can be either.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Phil, it's been a pleasure. I've loved the conversation, both off and on camera. So thanks very much for taking the time.
Not at all.
Thank you, Philip. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
So this has been One Thought at a Time with our guest this week, Phil. Even if you have been, thanks for listening.